Hi, thanks for joining me today. So I just finished my mini album using the Spellbinders card kit of the month from January 2020 called Love the Moment. And I do have a three-part tutorial series on how I created this mini album, which I'll show you in a second. But my motivation for actually using this card kit to create a mini album is I was just trying to find other ways to use the kit because if I were to subscribe to this card kit of the month, I would not be able to use up all of the contents just for cards. It just comes with so much stuff and it's all gorgeous and I would certainly want to use it all, but because I don't sell my cards, I would never be able to finish a card kit if all I could use it for was to create cards. I just can't personally use that many cards in a month. So I thought, well, let's see if I can build a mini album because I love giving mini albums as gifts. I like having mini albums because then I can kind of commemorate small things like a trip or a visit from family or friends, things like that. It's always nice to have these little mini albums, and so that was the motivation for this project. So let me show you how it all turned out. Here is the finished album, and in my mini series tutorial, I didn't show the cover because usually these final embellishments they just take me a long time to kind of decide what I want to do. So this is actually one of the chipboard elements. It says love always. And all I did here was I glued it onto some black cardstock and sort of fussy cut around it. Sort of like a bubble cut, like if you had a die that cuts the outline of a word. I was going for that look, and then I backed this whole thing on black foam, so you can see from the side it's black and not white. And the butterfly as well is a die cut element from the card kit. And what I did here was I put small glue dots on the body, but then I mounted the wings on foam, but I did not glue the foam down. That way, even as if something gets put on top of this, it's okay. It can bend down, but it'll still want to naturally pop up because the foam is behind there. So it kind of gives it a little bit more dimension. And these flowers I created myself to sort of match the paper, and like this little flower here is actually from the same cardstock that I wrapped the cover with. And these were made using, I think, Spellbinders, two different dies from Spellbinders. I think this one is Rose Creation, and this one, I can't remember the name of it, but it's one of the ones where it cuts sort of a spiral cut and then you just roll it. And in that die set, there's actually 3 sizes. So you can create different sizes and styles of flowers. And then I used a couple of Nuvo drops in black, a couple of drops in their Morning Dew, there's one on the flower petal here. It's kind of hard to see because it's completely clear. And then I put one on the gold glitter leaf. And these gold glitter leaf sprays are actually from the card kit too. You get a lot of these, so they're really nice. They do shed, but they do add like that little bit of luxury to the cover. And so starting in, this again is another die cut element and more of that gold glitter leaves. I just cut it down. I found one that looked about the right scale, and then this was like a longer sort of spray, but I just cut it down. And I did that with these too. So don't be afraid to cut up your die cuts to fit what you need. And over most, if not all of the die cuts, I put a wash of my homemade sort of Wink of Stella shimmer pen, so everything has a little bit of a sparkle and sheen. These are die cut elements. A little simple gatefold. These are pocket pages, and so I made little photo mats to go in each of these pages. And these file folder tabs come in the die set as well, so, or the card kit as well. So those are convenient. This is a little half gatefold, little die cut element. Most of the die cut elements I did back onto some heavyweight cardstock so that I could leave them open and they would have a little bit of durability. And you can see, so I converted the page card bases, which are an A2 size, so 4 1/4 wide by 5 1/2 tall. And so that's the size of my pages, and it works out really well for a 3x4 photo. If you have, this is the dimensions of an Instax wide, so works great for that. And of course, wallet size photos will fit just perfectly too, and they can go landscape or portrait. That was 2.5 by 3.5, and then here's 2x3, and this is the Instax Mini, so a lot of options. These 2x3s can fit on this half gate as well. So this is a Z-fold page, so it's designed so that you can kind of appreciate this beautiful butterfly pattern. This was probably my favorite paper out of the paper pad, and in the paper pad there are 20 unique designs, and you get 2 sheets of each. They're single-sided, and so in total you get 40 sheets. And what I used in the album is half of the paper pad, so I took 20 sheets and used each of the unique sheets in this album. That way I could kind of showcase each one. And I love that you get like these beautiful sentiments. So this says, "Wouldn't miss a moment, the time is now." And then I think there was one on the inside. This one says, "This is my life." And then on this spread, I just made, I have a Sizzix die set that cuts out these tags, and I have a different Sizzix die set that cuts out smaller tags, but also has a die for the hole reinforcer, which the die set that cut the large tag didn't have a die for the hole reinforcer, so I had to scrounge around in my stash to find one, but it's cute. So I just die cut that out of some gold. I bordered this with some Love from Lizzie's pinstripe peel-off stickers, just to give it that finished, polished edge. And these tags are great because they keep this flap closed. Otherwise, you can flip this up. And I just did some paper piecing, so you get this little herringbone pattern. This was mainly because after I finished the whole album, I didn't have a large enough piece of design paper, pattern paper, to cover the back of that flap. But I didn't want to just leave it white, so but I had a lot of these strips left, so I just cut up the strips and made that little pattern. And I did the same thing on this side. So flip that up and you've got that paper pieced herringbone pattern. It's a really easy way to use up your scraps, but also just get the most out of your design paper. So on this, I just happen to have these stitched square, and I have them in rectangles as well, and I die cut as thin of a frame as I could, and I was going for that look that's really popular now, like those geometric frames. Usually they're thinner than this, but I figured this is kind of of close enough. And I did leave this open so you can pop a photo behind here. And you can pop it under that other frame too. But so it would take a little trimming to get it to fit, get it squared. But this sentiment reads, "Live in the moment. Every picture has a story to tell." I love that. And then this is the last page signature. So, "A life lived is a life loved." And this is another, the butterflies come in two sizes. I think this is the smaller of the two. I tried to only use one of the die cut elements, and kind of save the other one for either another mini album or for some card making. But you do get two of each die cut, so that's why these card kits are just so generous. There's so much material there for you that you can create well more than 10 cards with the kit, even though there's only 10 card bases that are provided. This says, "Little things make for awesome days," and I just added the two hearts that say "Laugh today." And then my back cover, this is a little die cut that says "Photo Opportunity," and I just left a frame here. And again, it's open at the top, so you can slip a photo in there. And this is actually open and has some acetate. It's a little acetate pocket. This is just a die cut of another one of my stitched rectangles. So I figure I can write with my white gel pen a little caption to go with this photo. And oh, well, that's assuming I keep this. I'm starting to fall in love with this album, and I kind of want to keep it, even though I made it with the intention to give it away. but at least this is a changeable sort of caption tag, because let's say you were to use this as sort of like a little brag book that you wanted to keep maybe on your desk at your office or on your coffee table, and throughout the year maybe you want to swap out the photos. You could definitely do that, and if you needed to swap the caption, you could take this out, cut another piece, and then write a new caption for the new photo that you were putting in. So lots of different ways to use that. But that is the album. Oh, the back cover. So I actually used the cover of the paper pad, and I cut that down to be the decorative layer of my back cover. So I used quite a bit of the card kit, but there's still more than half of the card kit left. So I did use all 10 card bases, and as you saw, it's 5-page signatures, but there's a lot of sort of flips and flaps that make it interactive, and so you can definitely put a lot of photos in here, albeit they would be smaller photos because you can't fit a 4x6 without cutting it down, but 3x4s would fit on all of these panels, and definitely wallet size photos would fit in here as well. So you can really load it up, especially if you're using the smaller, either the Instax mini photos or small wallet photos. I have the Canon Selfie dye sublimation printer, and so what I like to do with albums this size is print collages, because that printer can print up to a 4x6 photo. And so on one 4x6, you can actually get 4 2x3 photos. And so that's what I like to do for an album this size. But this also really easily fits 3x4 photos too, which fit very, very nicely on these pages. I used half of the paper pad. So there are 40 sheets in total, 20 unique designs. So I just took one of each design, and I used pretty much all of it. There's a couple of scraps left and strips left. Probably the largest strip is maybe a 2x6, but there aren't a lot. And then what else did I use? Oh, the die cuts. I barely put a dent in the die cuts because I pulled out just the ones that I thought would work well in an album, or that I didn't. There were some that I definitely wanted to save for cards, and so I reserved those. But otherwise, yeah, there were just so many to choose from. But I hardly used any at all, really. There's a lot left. And then in the kit, there's also the I have the kit contents here. There's the die set, which I did not use. There's the stamp set, which I did not use. There's these rhinestones, which I didn't use. There's sort of dimensional stickers, which I didn't use, although they're really cute. And some of them would have made for really good embellishments for the album. I just didn't use them. And then there's a ton left of the gold glitter leaves and little embellishments. Here are the ones that I sort of cut apart a little bit. I just snipped here and there just so that I can get the leaves in the right size and shape that I wanted. So you can see there's like a ton of materials left. There's still a lot of cardstock left, although I'll be honest, I did use some cardstock out of my stash. For example, this one, I happen to have a scrap, and it's almost the exact same color as the one that came in the kit. So you could, if you wanted to create, an album very similar to what I did, you can definitely do that. I just happened to use some scraps out of my stash because it was already cut into, and I didn't want to cut into the full sheet that came in the card kit if I didn't have to. But still lots of the cardstock left. And for the cover, to make it like a little stiffer and more reinforced, I did use the chipboard backing that the 6x6 paper pad is packaged in. So that was enough for one of the covers and the spine. But for the other cover, I did have to use heavyweight cardstock. And so I did pull that out of my own stash. So I did use some things out of my stash, but not a ton, really. And a lot of what I did pull from my stash, you could easily sub in things that were provided in the card kit. So you could definitely create this with only kit components if you wanted. I just like a more sturdy cover, so that's why I went with the heavyweight cardstock. But the kit does provide plenty of cardstock, and you could even layer up several pieces of cardstock to get to the same thickness that I achieved. And I even had to use 2 pieces of heavyweight cardstock. And if you don't have chipboard, the other thing that's really common is to use things like a cereal box or something similar, because that is usually pretty thick, similar to chipboard too. So lots of options out there. You don't necessarily have to go out and buy anything special outside of what's provided for in the kit. So I love that these card kits can actually like make a really nice, cute mini album. And as I mentioned, I was making it with the idea to give to a friend of mine, but I really started to fall in love with it, and I'm either going to make another one for myself, which I can definitely do because there's still plenty of kit material left, and all of the same pattern papers, so I could make the exact album again if I wanted. Um, or I might keep this and make my friend something else. So we'll see. Thanks for joining me today. And if you want to see how I made this album, be sure to check out the mini series tutorial that I have posted as well. There's also an accompanying blog post where I don't go through everything, but I do try to highlight how I constructed this mini album. Thanks so much, and until my next video, happy crafting and have a fantastic day.